This is Street Knowledge with Chris Graham.
Welcome to the podcast. Chris Graham, Scott German, and we're going to recap number 3 UVA 64-58 win at number 20 Virginia Tech. A grinded out, workmanlike game. You know, the final score, Scott, of 6 points, it didn't feel like a 6-point game to me. It wasn't a blowout win like the first win for Virginia, a 22-point win in Charlottesville. Virginia felt like it was in control. I never felt like, you know, from a game pressure standpoint that Virginia was ever really in doubt in the second half. But, you know, the final score was a 6-point game. Tech hung around. Give them credit. They were down 13 a couple times in the second half and at least made it interesting in the last minute. But Virginia gets the win on the road.
Yeah, Chris, what have we said? I mean, over and over and over is the things that the result that UVA is having, you know, the last couple of years is just unprecedented. I mean, even the great teams down through the good teams, the Carolina teams, you know, the success that UVA is having on the road, and now that they've got the Monday, Saturday turnaround, and we 2 weeks in a row, we've had a tough game on Saturday and then turn around and within 48 hours go on the road and play in a hostile environment at Carolina last Monday, at Tech tonight. And we keep on winning. And that's just, to me, unprecedented. And it's just it's a complete sign of the program that Tony has built. These kids just, you know, are not fazed by going on the road. They're not fazed by adversity. This is an NCAA championship type team for sure.
As we're recording this, it's about 9:30 Monday night. We've got Zach Peerless down in Blacksburg. He's probably still in the post game with coaches and players. He'll report back from Blacksburg with game story, game columns, and we'll talk with Zach tomorrow to get his impressions from Blacksburg. So now we're talking tonight. The story of this game tonight from Virginia's standpoint, I thought, Scott, was 13 turnovers for Virginia, leading to 13 points on offense for Virginia Tech, a 13-6 advantage for Virginia Tech. On a night when the Hokies shoot 39.7% from the field, 3 of 27 from three-point range. The turnovers keep Virginia Tech in the game. I've already written my post-game column, my Inside the Numbers column, where I analyze Virginia. In this game tonight, it was a low-possession game, as you'd expect. 13 turnovers for Virginia on 59 possessions. And not only, you know, the dead ball turnovers, as we like to call them, you know, where you throw the ball out of bounds and, you get to go back and play defense. There were several live ball turnovers that led to Virginia Tech points. And this is becoming a trend. 12.5 turnovers per game for Virginia in its last 6 games, dating back to the win over NC State, overtime win back a couple weeks ago. And Virginia, in those last 6 games, has turned the ball over on 20.4% of possessions. Season average is 15.1%, and that's 15th best in NCAA. So turnovers are an issue, something to fix, something to come out of this game with. You still got to work on those turnovers. But that was a concern really throughout the game for Virginia tonight.
Yeah, and that has to be. I mean, we're famous. The thing is, we always kind of find that gray cloud somewhere on the horizon, and the turnovers do have to be somewhat concerning. But maybe as we get into this part of the schedule, that's something that, you know, we're playing better teams, we're playing high caliber teams. I know we breezed through the first half of the season, the turnover count was really pretty low, but at the same time, we weren't playing the caliber of competition, so maybe that has a little bit to do with it. I'm not certain, but you know, we did have some silly turnovers tonight, and if you break the box score down, again, we're looking for those dark clouds, and it's always easy to look for them when you win. I mean, it's kind of hard to look at them because everything's a dark cloud when you lose, but I'm a little concerned about Kia Clark. He's just kind of MIA lately. He had another ugly box score tonight.
He had an odd box score tonight. He played 20 minutes, all 20 minutes of the first half, and was very ineffective. Now, a lot of that was DeAndre Hunter got his second foul with 12:22 to go in the first half, and Tony sat him. And now Kihei started the game, but a lot of those minutes he played, in the last 12:22 were because DeAndre was not available, and Tony didn't want to add any other guards from the bench. He didn't want to go Marco Anthony or anything like that. So he stuck with Kihei. But Key only played 2 minutes in the second half. So that was a sign. And I think the turnover, and you probably saw this, Scott. Anybody watching at home, I'm sure if you paid close attention, after that end of the first half turnover, Virginia got a stop on Virginia Tech's second to last possession, as it turned out, first half. Up 32-27. K.A. Clark got the loose ball rebound, and he was trying to lead Kyle Guy on a fast break in the backcourt. About 4 or 5 seconds to go. Sloppy play. We talked about turnovers. He threw the ball right to a Virginia Tech guy. I think it was maybe Nikhil Alexander Walker, but I couldn't tell you exactly who it was because all I know was I was stunned. You all were stunned. Tony Bennett was stunned at the nature of that turnover. It leads to an easy Virginia Tech basket, and Tony walked on the court immediately as the buzzer sounding, put his hand around K.A. Clark's shoulders, said something, and my thought was he's probably telling him, kid, you're not playing in the second half. He played 2 minutes in the second half and didn't play anymore. So what an odd box score he played. He's had 2 odd ones in the last week. Last Monday, he played 27 in the first 28 minutes, didn't play the last 11:36. Today, he played 20 minutes in the first half, 2 in the second half. You don't see that very often, but Virginia went more with Braxton Key in the second half. Key ended up with 27 minutes, had a big dagger 3 in the last minute. So, he had 2 threes in the game, 2 of 4 from three-point range. DeAndre Hunter, who didn't score in the first half in that limited action because of the 2 fouls, ends up with 10 points all in the second half. But that was the solution. You went more with Key, you went more with Hunter, and less obviously with Clark. But wow, yeah, well, he was reluctant again to shoot the ball when open, and he had one dribble drive to the basket, kind of slow, trying to finish on that. Got a shot blocked. He missed a couple threes, airballed a 3. And he really looks right now. I feel for the kid because a guy who was so effective for this team for so long this season, right now it seems like he's inside his own head trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, and this is not the great time of the year to be confused either because you're playing games quick turnover. No, you don't play again until Saturday, but it's going to run out of rope, and pretty soon. Tony's not going to have the confidence to go with him. So here, one thing I want to talk about, Chris, and I've heard some people actually today talking on the radio about concerned about Ty Jerome. So I was a little confused about that because I'm thinking, are his numbers that bad? I'm just watching the games from watching at our view at JPJ and watching him on TV. Didn't seem like he's playing that bad. So I broke it down. And since Ty missed the one game, he's played in excess of 37 minutes in 3 of the 4 games against Duke, against Carolina, tonight against Tech. He shot better than 50% in the field in 3 of those games. He was 6-11 against Duke, 5-9 against Carolina, 6-10 tonight, and had 11 assists against Carolina last Monday night, 2 turnovers. Tonight, I think he had 6 assists and 2 turnovers.
Yeah.
So what is wrong with Ty Jerome? I haven't seen much at all other than, like everybody else, he might be a little tired.
I don't think he's tired. I heard Jay Billis say that tonight. What's wrong was Notre Dame came out and played good zone defense, and zone defense takes away dribble penetration. And so, Ty is at his best with dribble penetration, and he didn't get to do that for much of that game. Notre Dame played some man-to-man defense in the second half as a change-up. Mike Bray was trying to see if he could, to extend their effectiveness in the second half. And actually, Virginia had a very effective stretch there. But no, zone defense teams take you out of your game a bit. As far as what Ty does well, Ty is great at getting in the paint. He's 6'5", he's long, he can get in the paint and score. He got that little teardrop jumper. And then when he draws the defenders in, he can dish off and for baskets. He had one off game, and it wasn't because he was tired. It wasn't because of his back. It was because, give credit to Notre Dame. We like to say this, Scott and I, for fans out there, it might be fortunate, it might not be fortunate. If you could just listen to us talk during the games instead of having to listen to the TV announcers that you're saddled with. But we say all the time, the other teams are giving out scholarships, and they're recruiting ACC athletes too. Give Notre Dame credit. Good game plan, Mike Bray. Good execution by the team, and they made Ty Jerome look human for 40 minutes. But as you pointed out, Scott, 3 of the last 4 games against pretty good teams. 2 of those teams are top 20 teams. Ty's looked pretty good. I don't think there's anything wrong with Ty Jerome.
as I said, I think the only thing that's wrong with Ty Jerome is what's wrong with most college basketball players that are seeing a lot of minutes. It's almost past mid-February. They're tired. They played a grueling schedule, and some of these guys are just tired. I think I'm a little concerned again about the minutes. 37 minutes tonight, and that's where we were a little bit concerned about Keelan Clark not playing any in the second half. So do you think that the necessity of having a guard, a reliable guard to spell Jerome off the bench, you think that is looking more and more like it's going to be Braxton Key?
I think it is, and I'm not as concerned. I'm the guy who is the person yelling at the loudest every year this time of year. We're playing our people too many minutes. I'm the guy dating back to the Malcolm Brogdon era. Hey, our guys are playing too much. We got to slow them down. This game, the second of what's effectively in college basketball a back-to-back when you play Saturday, Monday. That's pretty much back-to-back in college terms. Not obviously NBA they play back-to-back in different cities a lot. But for college basketball, you play Saturday, you play Monday. You get class responsibilities, at least at schools like Virginia, not like at Duke. So playing minutes in the second game of a 2 games in 3 day scenario is tough. I'm not as worried about it. I'm not as worried about this team this year. It's a veteran team. Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome, they're both juniors. They're 3-year starters. DeAndre Hunter is a junior, effectively. He's a sophomore with a year of redshirt. He's a 3-year guy in the program. Key is a third-year player. He played 2 years at Alabama. I'm not worried about him. I think Key probably is your solution off the bench. But I love Key. He brings defense at a different level, maybe because of his size and his length at 6'7", and he can guard point guards. He can guard guys in the post. Offensively, he can shoot the 3. He can dribble, drive. He can do what you need to do. But he's not Ty Jerome, and no offense, not a lot of people are Ty Jerome. He's not Kyle Guy. No offense, not a lot of people are Kyle Guy. They're going to need those guys to play 35-plus minutes in the big money games next month. And it's hard to say, all right, you don't need them against Louisville. That's the game Saturday. You don't need them against, we got Louisville again coming up into the regular season. We've got Syracuse on the road, I think, sometime next week. You don't need them 37 to win those games. You don't need to win those games. You can lose those games and still do well in the NCAA tournament. It's hard to do that because every coach, whether it's Tony Bennett or Coach K or whoever, you're wired to say, I got to win this game. March is March. It's now. We got to win now. And so I understand that. It's a tough balancing act. I'm okay. I'm okay. I think these guys know what they're doing. Maybe it's a weird thing to say, Scott. I wonder about this. I thought about this when Ty had to miss that Miami game a couple weeks ago. I wonder if him missing that Miami game wasn't something that was beneficial. Now, he did it because he was hurt. He was hurt. He had an injured back. But that's one game he didn't have to play. So I wonder if that's the kind of thing that may pay some dividends down the road. That's 38 minutes he didn't have to play in a game. So I wonder if that might be a factor down the stretch.
Well, I don't know. What you're basically saying is, can you bank minutes not played?
Well, it's legs not used. It's legs not used. For that one game, he didn't have to use those 40 minutes of running.
Well, again, and I understand what you're saying because I often think of that. But then the flip side of that is he didn't play because he was hurt. So the most opportunistic scenario would be you're winning so comfortably that instead of having to play 37 minutes a night, you play every game. You play 28 to 30 minutes a night, and you have a bench that can come in and give you those minutes. You don't have to miss a whole game to sort of bank or store up minutes. So, I'm not certain, but the point is, since that one game absence, he's played very well for a kid that if you follow any of the message boards, was reportedly done for the season. So he has played very well. I do think it's going to be imperative down the stretch. And if you look at the schedule, the good thing about the Saturday, Monday flips is that you do have the rest of the week off. not like we're having a game Wednesday or Thursday night, Saturday, then again on Monday. It's still 2 games in a week. It's just 2 games bunched together. So, we've got Louisville, which should be a great game, and then you move forward to next Wednesday at Georgia Tech, or home against Georgia Tech. Again, that appears to be on paper a game that you should win easily, and you should be able to reduce some of your minutes. But we thought that was going to be the scenario Saturday against Notre Dame, and it certainly didn't turn out like that.
Yeah, I'll illustrate, I guess, the point I was making by looking at Virginia Tech. Justin Robinson's out. He didn't play tonight. He hasn't played since the Miami game. And they're now 3-3 with him out. They've played 6 games. And you look at Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He's a sophomore. He's looked at as a lottery pick if he comes out this year, which a lot of folks think he will, just like DeAndre Hunter at Virginia is likely to come out. So since the injury to Justin Robinson, he got injured late in the first half of that win at Miami. In fact, including that game, the win at Miami, Alexander Walker played 39 minutes. He played 40 in the win at NC State, 40 in the loss at home to Louisville, 38 in the loss on the road at Clemson, 34 Georgia Tech, 17 with foul issues, not rest issues, foul issues in the win over Pitt this weekend, and then 40 tonight. 4 of Virginia Tech's starters played 40 minutes tonight. Now, you got to do that if you're Buzz Williams. He's only got a 7-man rotation when even Robinson's healthy, 7 effective player rotation. So he's got to go. He's got to put his 4 guys. He's got to use the minutes because he can't right now afford to give any games away. I know they're 20-6. They're still in the top 20, but you gotta win some games still. Jay Bell said it tonight on the broadcast. Tech can't afford to lose the rest of the way and get an NCAA bid. They haven't sewn one up yet. And so, that's a balancing act for them. Now, that's Virginia Tech. Virginia's not in the same situation, but, if you're Virginia, you're playing for different states. You're not playing for an NCAA bid. We know that the number 1 seeds don't mean as much. We lost last year with the number 1 seed. But, you're going out there to win games. And so, can you play tie 28 and win a game? Yeah, you probably can. But not tonight necessarily on the road at Virginia Tech, a top 20 team. But I think you go into every game and you just say, let's game plan and win this game, and then we'll worry about the next game. And that's tough. It's tough. We talk about this a lot on the podcast. It's tough because, you want to win the games in March. I guess the saving factor to me on this is, Scott, everybody else, every other coach in the country is going through this same question process right now. Do we need to rest some guys? Do we need to worry about minutes? And when you look at box scores, most guys are playing guys. I mean, they're key guys. They're all playing. You're not resting guys. Duke's playing their big guys 35 to 40 minutes. Just, Michigan State's playing their big guys. I mean, it's tough, but, everybody else is doing the same thing.
They are. And some of those teams that are having to do that aren't winning either, Chris, and we're still winning. I mean, we've lost to 1 team all year. And could have won, those weren't the 2 losses to Duke. I know the loss at JPJ was a little more, went a little bit more decidingly towards Duke, but, Duke shoots normal Duke-like shooting from 3-point land, and that game was a toss-up. So I don't think that there's any reason to push panic, because, like you said, a lot of teams are going through that. It's that time of the year. It's what teams are having to, call on the players to play a lot of minutes. But again, I think, could be wrong, but I'm gonna go out on the limb and say you have seen pretty much the last of Kihei Clark this year as far as playing meaningful minutes. I think Key is going to take over in that position. I think Clark will get some time. It may just be some spot time, but I don't think I think Tony's given him every opportunity, and now you have to start. The sand's running through the hourglass. You don't get not a lot more games to get your rotation down, and Key is, has proven himself. He's a veteran, and he's going to have to step up, and he's I think that's what, in my opinion, I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a lot more of Braxton Key and a lot less of C.A. Clark.
Yeah, I think the second half rotation tonight is your rotation. I mean, I even tweeted it out at one point in the second half. The lineup that you saw for a lot of the second half was Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy, DeAndre Hunter, Braxton Key, Mamadi Diakite. That's your most athletic group. I call it, in my mind, they talk about the Golden State Warriors having a death lineup. It's not necessarily the starting lineup, but it's their key guys plus Andre Iguodala off the bench. That's not Virginia's starting lineup, but it's their best lineup. It's the lineup that'll finish a game off. It's their most athletic group, probably their best offensive group. You got four guards on the floor. You got two guys in Key and Hunter who have very similar skill sets at the 3 and 4 position. You got Diakite who can score from the 5. He can hit the 3, he can score in the paint. So that's Virginia's most versatile group, most talented group. I think all 5 of those guys are NBA players. So, but you saw that group a lot out there in the second half tonight. That's going to be Virginia's lineup. As you get into postseason play, as you start playing in March, those meaningful, you lose and you're done kind of games, you shorten your bench. Virginia's had an 8-man rotation. Clark's been in that 8-man rotation. Huff's been in that 8-man rotation. I'd like to see a little more Huff, but I think you got a 7-man rotation with maybe an 8-man rotation, but Clark playing 8 to 10 minutes a game, Huff playing 8 to 10 minutes a game, and those other 6, and maybe Salt playing 12 to 15 minutes a game. Those other 5 guys, they're 35-minute guys, and that's the group you win with. Is that group I just mentioned? That's your winning group. And what you do when you have Clark on the floor in the first half, you have Salt on the floor first and second half. When you have Huff on the floor, the parts of the game he's in, you're trying to buy some minutes. You're trying to steal some minutes. You're trying to get some stops. If you get a basket or 2, great. But you're just trying to get maybe from one TV timeout to the next so you can get your big guys some rest. And then when you get them back out there, they're ready to go. You're not trying to ride K.A. I don't think you're going to – I agree with you, Scott. I don't think you're going to ride K.A. Clark for 20, 25 minutes a night anymore. I don't think you're going to really ride, Salt. I mean, if whatever Salt gives you, you'll be happy with. And hopefully you get some bursts from Huff, but you're not going to get much more than 8 to 10 minutes out of him. I think you're right. I think tonight, I think that turnover at the end of the first half might have been Clark's sort of the end of his freshman season in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that led to a tech bucket at the end of the half, and Coach Bennett went after him. And if you saw it, if you watched it, Coach Bennett really gave it to him when the horn blew. So yeah, I think that could be, unless there's some major injury, I don't believe you're going to be seeing a lot of Clark the rest of the season. Talking about Tech, and I know this is a UVA podcast, but Tech played 4. They had 4 players play 40 minutes tonight. 4, and that's and again, we're not concerned about Virginia Tech, but we're talking about number of teams in the ACC that gets picked. The NCAA has proven, because the selection, it's not about if you win 20 games. It's about how you're playing at the end of the season. If they don't get Robinson back and they go into they just kind of flame out as the season goes, as the season ends. They're very much a bubble team. I don't care what their record says, because if the NCAA is looking at them, they know they may not be playing with Robinson, and they've lost. They're a 4-4 or 4-6 team down the stretch. They could become very easily a bubble team. So, and you're playing 4 guys 40 minutes tonight. To me, that's a real tough. That's a tough thing to do. They've got a couple of tough games left. They got some easy ones too. They got Miami coming into Castle. I think they may have Pitt.
No, they're at Notre Dame. They're at Notre Dame on Saturday. They have Duke at home on Monday, and then Florida State. They have a week off. Then they're at Florida State. Then they finish with Miami. We saw Notre Dame the other day. They're playing about as good as they can be playing right now, and they'll be home on Saturday. Duke obviously is Duke. Now, Duke will be in that stretch. They've got Carolina Wednesday night. I think they're at Syracuse, and then they've got Virginia Tech coming up that Monday night. I think that's right. Let me look at that, make sure that's right before I say that and make myself an idiot if I'm wrong about that. Yeah, Carolina at home Wednesday, at Syracuse, at Virginia Tech. It's actually Tuesday, so it's not big Monday. But for Virginia Tech, I mean, playing four guys 40 minutes, I'm not sure how that, even at home, I'm not sure how that matches up against Duke. And then you're at Florida State. I think, outside of Virginia and Duke, the hottest team right now in the ACC is Florida State, the way they're playing right now. And don't discount Miami the way they're playing right now. Miami beat Clemson. They played Virginia tough. They should have beat Carolina at Chapel Hill. What I look at that and say, you lose to Duke and Florida State. I'm writing those as losses. You can't afford to slip up against Notre Dame or Miami, because then you're right, Scott. You're looking at a team that if they go 1-3 to finish out the regular season, or 21-9 to finish out the regular season, they've got to probably win an ACC tournament game to sort of punch their ticket. And so that's probably why you see Buzz playing four guys 40 minutes tonight. He's trying to steal one at home against Virginia, because he knows that he looks at that schedule and says, man, that's not going to be an easy way to finish out things. He's got a tough schedule to finish out with, no question.
Well, and two, Chris, if they do fall and slip that badly down the stretch, I think you got to win more than one NCAA tournament game, because you're going to win one because you're going to be playing other crappy teams, but you're not going to certainly not going to get a double bye. You may not even get a bye. I don't have the standings right in front of me yet, but
they would be a bye. They would be a bye team, yeah.
Would be a one bye team.
They would be a Wednesday team, yeah. They would be playing on Wednesday, yeah.
So I'm not sure even one win would guarantee that. So that they're certainly playing. They're starting to skate along on some thin ice now, and not that that's a problem with us that we have to worry about, but we've got Virginia's got to take care of their own business. But we've almost talked a half an hour, and we haven't really talked about Kyle Guy.
Yeah, well, because he had a great game. He had a great game. What do we got to talk about Kyle Guy for? He had a great game. He had 23.
You hardly mentioned his name until now.
because you said it earlier, Scott. We're looking for the bad things. No, Kyle had 23 points. See how we got it? Okay, yeah, great. Kyle, he had 23. He had 22 on Saturday. So, nice couple game stretch for Kyle. And you know what was big? I wrote about this probably in my game column, or no, my game story, my game recap. He had 23. He only had 6 in the second half. He had the 2 threes in the second half. But, he had 17 in the first half when nobody else was scoring. Literally, DeAndre Hunter didn't score. And Jerome was struggling in the first half. And so, he goes off for 17 in the first half. And when you needed him to, those weren't empty points. Sometimes guys put up numbers, they hit shots when it doesn't matter. I mean, when your team scores 32.5, leads by 3, and you have 17, you've done something. When your lottery pick is sitting on the bench with 2 fouls for 12-22 of the first half, that's big. And then only 6 in the second half, but they were 2 really kind of dagger-like threes. He finished with 6 rebounds. Did you see the follow-up dunk? Who is this guy? When he threw it down, the first thought was, all right, it's a white guy who threw it down. That I don't think Jay Huff's on the floor. That Kyle Guy was up in the air on that one. I think he improved his draft stock tremendously just with that follow-up dunk.
Yeah, and we know the camaraderie these guys have within the team. It would not surprise me that somehow or another Kyle Guy finds a way to set Mamadi Diakite on the way back and explains to him exactly how you are supposed to dunk the basketball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was potentially catastrophic. We're up 8. You have Mamadi's 20 feet behind anybody and dunks it off the back of the rim. And then Tech goes down and shoots an open 3. I mean, that could have been classic. Unfortunately, it wasn't because Tech couldn't throw it in the ocean tonight. But, yeah, I mean, you got to finish him out. We left it open. But, yeah, Kyle, man, what a game. He was 8 of 15 from the floor, 6 of 13 from 3. And, I say this all the time when I'm watching the game, especially when I'm watching it home in the home office. My wife's with me. He seems to shoot better when he is running off the screen with a guy in his face and somebody getting ready to trip him. And, he seems like he's so off balance, but he's more balanced on those shots than when he's standing there wide open. Now, he did hit a couple nice open threes. There was a nice play where Jerome drove the baseline, kicked it out to him in rhythm, nice shot. But he really seems to just figure out a way. He's figured out a way to square his shoulders up, even if everything else seems offline. And he's more dangerous when he's helter skelter than when he's out there standing there wide open with a second to think about it.
Chris, I was looking at the box score here, and this is just some of the little things I pick at and look at. I'm looking at one box score, and it shows that Clark did play in the second half.
He played 2 minutes. Yeah, he played 2 minutes. He played 20 in the first half, 2 in the second half. Yeah.
Okay, so he did play this. I thought you had said he did not play, and I couldn't remember.
Yeah, he came in midway through. I don't remember the exact time. I could look it up, but actually, I hate to say it, the Tech score system, the live stat system sucks. They don't use the stat broadcast system we're used to. It's awful. It's atrocious. It doesn't help you at all. It doesn't give you the number of possessions. It doesn't give you when guys check in, when they go out. So anyway, it was midway through the second half. He literally played about a minute and a half, so I don't think it was a full 2 minutes even. About a minute and a half, and he checked in for Kyle, and then Kyle checked in for him between a stretch of TV timeout. So he didn't even get to a TV timeout. So he played limited, didn't do anything.
Yeah, and talking about limited minutes, the same for Jay Huff as well. And I'm thinking that Huff's limited minutes was maybe as much to do with just the lineup matchups.
Yeah, it felt like to me.
He also got used a couple of times defensively.
Well, and matchup wise, Tech, even when they have Justin Robinson healthy, they're a 4-guard lineup. They have Kerry Blackshear. It's weird to say because Blackshear, I'm looking at his numbers. He ends up 10 of 14 from the floor. I still thought Virginia played good defense on him because in the first half now. I'll mention this. I wrote about this on the live blog. Virginia Tech ran their offense through him, and it wasn't even just that he was making shots. They had him in the high post. He would catch the ball either on one of the wings about 12 feet out of the lane, or he'd catch it right about the free throw line. And they were running guys off of him, and it's sort of like he could set a ball screen with the ball in his hand and hit them with a pass cutting to the basket. They spread the floor well and got a lot of little backdoor layup kind of shots. They were 10 of 12 from the floor in the paint in the first half. But Virginia really did a good job in the second half taking that away. Now, he still, again, was 10 of 14 from the floor. But here's the thing I hate, and I've watched Tech play a lot this year. What I hate you see teams do, he made a 3 tonight. He was 1 of 4 from 3. He can make that 3, but he's got a really slow release. It takes him forever to wind it up. And what you see opposing bigs who guard him, you'll see them, when he gets the ball out there at the three-point line, he starts winding up that 3. You'll see the other big run out at him, and more often than not, he's quick enough. He's not quick, but he's quick enough if another guy's lumbering at him to kind of dribble drive around and get a layup or a dunk or a pass for a teammate to get a shot. And I'm always yelling at the TV when I see this, just let him shoot it. He's like a 30% shooter from 3. Just because he can make it doesn't mean he will make it. I'd rather Kerry Blackshear beat me from 3 than beat me in the paint. And I thought Jack Salt particularly did a really good job tonight not falling for that pump fake. And he was 1 of 4 from 3. Now, again, he was effective in the paint, but he was the only guy on that team effective. You had Ahmed Hill was 6 of 17. Nikhil Alexander-Walker, 4 of 14. They scored points, but it took a lot of shots to get there. And so I'll let Blackshear get his thing as long as he's not hitting threes and he's not getting a lot of easy layups, and you make the other guys work. I thought even though he had some good numbers, I thought Virginia actually defended him pretty well.
Yeah, and again, those guys are having to play a lot of minutes, and playing a lot of minutes against the type of defensive pressure that UVA applies, that's probably like playing double minutes. So I think Virginia defended him well, but you kind of have to feel sorry for him a little bit because they're playing so depleted right now that it's going to be a struggle for Tech down the stretch. They've got to figure out how to regroup, and I don't know if you do that without having Robinson on the floor.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that their fans on their message boards are such assholes, I'd feel sorry for them, but I don't feel sorry for them as a result of that. But yeah, Blackshear, I'll say this. There were a lot of scouts at the game tonight. Zach Peerless tweeted for us before the game, a couple hours before the game, about the number of scouts who were at the game watching the game tonight. And they're there to see Alexander Walker, who had an off night, 4 of 14, good defense, a lot of DeAndre Hunter in his face. And of course, you didn't see Robinson tonight. Blackshear's a guy that's weird. I mean, I don't know that he's got NBA talent in the sense that he's a really good college player. He's not quick. He can make shots, but his release is kind of slow. But tonight, he reminded me of Junior Burrow, of all people. He's a couple inches taller than Junior, but he really, when Junior's senior season in 1995, he put on a clinic several games down the stretch against some really good players. Blackshear, again, good numbers, 23 points, 13 rebounds. And, Junior did not have much of an NBA career, played for a couple teams for a couple of years. Blackshear might work his way in the league because one thing the guy can do is make shots. But again, it just reminded me of Junior Burrow. And that's actually, if you're listening to this podcast and you're a Tech fan, well, one, congratulations. You lasted 36 minutes into a Virginia podcast. But when I compare somebody to Junior Burrow, that's a huge compliment. I love Junior Burrow when he was at UVA. And at the college level, Junior was among the better post players. The NBA just doesn't use a lot of post play in this day and age. That's why I think Blackshear might have a hard time playing in the NBA. But he'll play in Europe. He'll play in Australia. He'll make some money. But tonight, he looked pretty good. I think the scouts were probably impressed with him tonight.
Yeah, and I'm sure they were also there to take a look at the other was Alexander Walker.
Yeah, so I thought, yeah.
For Tech.
He did not have a good game tonight.
I think the ESPN guys made a note that kind of alluded to the fact that the All-Star game was just a couple hours away down in Charlotte. So I'm sure that was a convenient stopover for him. But, again, another impressive win. But I don't think there's any you can't sugarcoat how difficult it is, or you can't overemphasize enough how difficult it is to go in the ACC and win on the road. And we just do it night after night after night.
Yeah, the ESPN folks talked during the game tonight about how Virginia Tech had a win over Virginia each of the last 3 seasons, the only team in college basketball to do that. And we're talking about a Virginia team that 2 of those last 3 seasons had won 30-plus games, got number 1 seeds, won ACC tournaments or ACC regular season championships, or both, as the case may be. So this Virginia team tonight swept Virginia Tech in the regular season, something those teams could not do. And so that's impressive. We'll take it. We won't look the gift horse in the mouth. I'll take a nice win on the road at Virginia Tech, and we'll breathe a little bit. We get ready for a snowstorm. Hey, Scott, out your way. You're out towards Fluvanna, Louisa County. What's the projection for you guys as far as snow?
Just some sleet and maybe freezing rain, then changing over to rain. I think most of the snow is a little further west towards Rose, and then, of course, over on your side of the mountain.
Yeah, I hate you. I hate you, and I hate everything about you. We're supposed to get 10 to 15 inches of snow. You're getting sleet?
Yeah. Yeah, sleet. Maybe I think they adjusted it up to 2 inches, and then on Thursday, 60 degrees. So.
Yeah.
They have an extra snow shovel if you need it.
Yeah. It starts tomorrow night. And yeah, it's supposed to be 60 here, I think, on Thursday too. But it'll be 60 with a foot of snow on the ground. So anyway, thank God there's no basketball between now and then. In fact, UVA's next game is on the road at Louisville on Saturday. Scott and I and Zach will get you ready for that, and then in the meantime, I'll be digging out snow. Scott will be just, he'll be, I don't know what you do with sleet. You just kind of hang out at home, but anyway, that's and a lot of.
And feel sorry for the people that are shoveling snow. That's what you do.
Yeah, well, thank you, Scott, for your sympathy. So that's what we have coming up. But look on our website tonight for Zach Peerless' stories. I've got an Inside Numbers column. I'll probably write something else between now and midnight. So I think that'll wrap us up. For Scott German, Chris Graham signing off. Wahoo-wah.